Good evening, and thank you very much for joining me this evening. Um, my name's Ben, and this is the Boys from the Baltic Star. Um, I'm on my own tonight. We knew Ewan wouldn't be with us, but Luke has also had complexities of life, and so won't be joining us this evening. Which means, in the absence of my comrades, it is time to return to a classic adventure game book. This is The Way of the Tiger, Book 1, Avenger. Now, this is set in a sort of alternate reality where ninjas are a real and powerful thing with mystical arts and the like, but also one in which there are plenty of gods. And we are off dealing with the rise of an evildoer and his henchmen and friends and allies and other evildoers. And essentially, we've gone on a quest to avenge our our patron, who was, for all practical intents and purposes, a father to us. Um, and we have risen to a very senior rank in our ninja temple. Um, so yes, this is a slightly different game book to the fighting fantasy ones we usually do. It has a very different combat system. So, a quick review of who I am in the game. Um, I started with 20 endurance, but that's now down to 17. I started with 5 shuriken, but I've used one of those on a sea creature, which then fell into the ocean, so I couldn't get the shuriken back. I started with 5 charges of inner force, and that was all good because you can use that to do additional damage. However, and this is the downside, I've already used 2 of them, so I only have 3 left. Um, you get points in various categories: fate points, kick points, and throw points, and punch points, which you can use as bonuses to your rolls. I have +1 in punch at the moment. Um, I have 10 gold, and I've done a bit of travelling, I've learnt a few things, and I've faced a few dangers. But um, when I started, I had to pick 3 specific ninja skills. And there's quite a list of them, but the 3 I picked, in addition to the throwing shuriken, which everybody gets, was arrow cutting, immunity to poisons, and escapology. So, believe it or not, I've survived an entire session, and this is session 2. So, this should last about 6 minutes, probably, once we actually get going. We were directed by a helpful priest looking chap into something called the Volunteer Inn on our journey, and we are obviously hoping that this will be a good thing. However, at the end of the first session I did, I was left with a very difficult choice. And so I find myself facing a genuine problematic um, decision that I have to make. And it was about whether or not I take on a new worship, a different god. So, I will reread section 200, which is where we got to, and I will go through my reasoning because I've now had time to consider my choice, and we will see if that choice turns out to be a good one. You step through the doorway of the Volunteer Inn and are surprised to see a wheel-shaped room, airy and light, with a circular bar at its centre. There are 10 tables with chairs screwed into the floor around them, but perhaps because of the sound of the door makes, everyone seems to be looking at you, and all conversation ceases. A man dressed in robes which bear the symbol of a 10-spoked wheel greets you as Avenger and invites you to join him. You sit opposite him and demand how he knows your name. He replies, "We who follow fate may often know what will come to pass. Our leader, Whimsical, foresees the arrival of all strangers." "But surely," you ask, "with such power he could rule the Man March." "We only see what we are fated to see, and it is not Whimsical's fate to rule the Man March." You tell him that there is a conspiracy amongst the followers of evil gods to enslave their fellow men. The priest replies that he knows this, and when you demand what the followers of fate plan to do, he merely spreads his hands and says, "What will be, and you cannot change it." He goes on, however, to say that he realizes that the spires of foreshadowing, with its great cathedral to fate, will fall first if the evil ones have their way, and he says that he is on your side. He even asks you to become a tool of fate, and to join the elite band of heroes who are fated to do great deeds in her service, and to embrace the worship of fate. For she is above other gods, keeper of the balance, without which all things would perish. You have heard of the elite few who serve fate as her tools. This is indeed an honour. One of the drinkers leaves the inn as he invites you to go with him to Fiendal's cathedral to fate. Will you embrace the worship of fate, or politely decline the priest's offer? So this is literally at the end of this passage is where we stopped last time. And at the time I was torn, because if I embrace fate, there's a chance it could earn me some fate points for my character sheet, which is great. But I already have a god, and I don't know how jealous the great god Quan is, but I'm pretty sure if you embrace fate, you're going to have to reject, the other gods, unless gods are just happy with you embracing fate as well. But when I read this, it wasn't that made my mind up. It was the bit where he said, they won't do anything. They support us somehow, but followers of fate won't do anything. And I believe very strongly that my ninja warrior is a doer. So accordingly, I have decided to politely decline the priest's offer. So I'm going to turn to 76. And hope desperately that doesn't punish me horrendously. Because that could easily be just a terrible, terrible choice. The priest is not affronted by your refusal to worship his goddess. Instead, he takes you to his house near the great domed cathedral, and a meal is served to you both. He tells you that the evil men whom you seek are even now nearing the city of Druath Glannan on the northern coast of the Sea of the Star. I can see it on the map, that's good. As it is late, you stay in his house for the night. You may restore up to 3 points of endurance for the rest. Okay, well that's good, because that's exactly what I need in order to restore my endurance back to 20. 3 points is exactly what I need. So that's good for a start. Okay. When you awaken, you notice that one of your shuriken lies on a chair beside your bed. There are no scratches or signs of use, but a magical rune has been etched upon it with acid. The priest tells you over breakfast that he has enchanted the throwing star, and that he will pray that fate will smile upon you. You may add 1 to the dice when using the enchanted shuriken. That sounds good to me. You take your leave of the priest and make for the north gate. Not far from his house, you find yourself in a narrow alley, when a runaway ox cart rounds the corner suddenly and bears down on you. Will you leap high into the air and somersault over it so that it passes beneath you, or dodge to the side? You will be hit, but not crushed under its wheel. Okay, right. So, first of all, I need to make a note that I have 1+1 enchanted shuriken. Okay, that's a good start. Now, maybe I'm getting overconfident, but I'm definitely not going to accept the I will be hit. Not when I'm just back to full endurance. So I am going to somersault over the ox cart so that it passes beneath me, and I will turn to 405 because I didn't pick acrobatics, so clearly this is the right thing to do. On the subject of which, I didn't pick acrobatics, did I? This is probably a terrible thing to do. The ox cart clatters underneath you as you somersault above it, landing agilely on your feet. Before you can move further, two monks who bear the symbol of the cross of Avatar, reversed, with a serpent twining around it, appear from doorways to either side of you. You recognise the insignia of Vile. It must be the Quan worshipper, says one. No one but a monk could have avoided the cart. I see, showing off. Never good. They move into the attack, adopting martial stances, as do you. There is a moment of silent confrontation as you circle each other. Do you use the tiger's paw chop, the winged horse kick, or the teeth of the tiger throw? Okay. So these are bad monks, right? And bad monks are potentially a problem. But they're not physically bigger than me, so I could try a kick. On the other hand, I get +1 for the punch. But there are two of them. So I'm tempted, at least while I find out who's dangerous and how powerful they are, to go for a punch, because I get +1 for that. No, there are two of them. We're going to try the teeth of the tiger throw, because if I remember correctly, if I land a throw, I'm just going to check the rules here. Hang on a second. The throw and throw modifier work as the punch. However, if you're successful, no damage is done to your attacker, but you will be allowed another attack, a punch or a kick, and it'll be much easier to strike a thrown opponent. If you're successful with this, your follow-up attack, add 2 to the damage you inflict. That's not enough to be worth it. Okay. I remembered something about you'd get like a killing blow or something. You're right, Sparrow. They are really a very poor advert for the quality of the monk, frankly. So we're going to go for a winged horse kick and turn to 374. Let's at least find out how dangerous they are. Okay. You may choose which monk to attack. One of them tries to punch you, but you lean back out of range, turn and drive your foot towards his head. Okay. Then gives stats, and then after that it just says, if you have defeated them, do this. If they are still alive, they will attack you. Your defense against their flying kicks is 6 if they're both attacking, and 8 if only one is still alive. Gotcha. If you're still alive, you may use the teeth of the tiger throw, the tiger's paw chop, or the winged horse again. Okay, so the first monk is slightly less skilled. I only need to hit a 6 in order to land a hit on him. But he's got slightly more endurance, 14 as opposed to 13. The other monk has 7 as the skill. So, they both do 1 die plus 1 damage. Okay, so my attack. This is where I could really use a good roll. And I rolled a 6, which is enough to hit the first monk. Now I could use an even better roll. I mean, a really much better roll, actually. And that's not bad. That's a 9. Okay, so that knocks his endurance from 14. I actually did that wrong. Sorry. I did that wrong. With a kick, you roll 1 die and add 2 to it. You don't roll 2 dice. However, I'm actually going to put some inner force into this in the hope that I can really knock him back. Okay, so that's a 6. Plus 2 is 8. Doubled. So the first monk is down in 1 hit. That proved to be very successful. However, that has knocked my inner force all the way down to 2. I thought it was worth using it since there were 2 of them, and I wanted to finish it as quickly as possible. Now that means if only one of them is still alive, the attack is against a difficulty of 8. Okay, so 2d6. I really need them to, not hit an 8. And that's a 6. So, he misses. Well, it worked well the first time, and I'm not going to put any more inner force into this, but I am going to have another go with the kick. And this time I miss. A 6. This guy needs a 7. So, and thankfully he misses as well with a 5. And then I land a hit with a 10. And roll a 6 for damage, plus 2 is 8. He started with 13, so he's now down to 5. Unfortunately, it's now his turn again. That's okay, though. He's rolled a 6. I need one more really good hit on him. And that's an 8, which is enough to hit him. So, what do I need here? 3 at least on a d6. Another 6. Okay, both monks are defeated. That is very good. Okay, if you're still alive, you may do this. No, if you've defeated them, turn to 324. 324 if you've defeated them. Okay. As you strike the last monk with what you expect will be the killing blow, strength born of desperate fear enables him to block the blow at the last moment, and he throws himself under the ox cart to the other side. He limps away into a nearby building, and you decide to leave the city by the north gate before he can call up reinforcements. Turn to 289. I still can't shake the feeling that if I'd picked worshipping the goddess of fate, I might have got a bonus on fate or something. But still. 289. There is no one at the north gate to see you leave the strange city of Fiendil, but you decide to put as much distance between yourself and its inhabitants as quickly as you can. Are you wearing an opal ring? No. No, I'm not wearing an opal ring. I do not have an opal ring to wear. Is that a problem? Am I supposed to have an opal ring? That's not a good sign. I am not wearing an opal ring, so I turn to 213. 213. And just for reference, just trying to find Fiendil on the map. Oh, there it is. Next to what looks like a really big mountain. About a third of the way up and a third of the way in on the map from the left. And we're heading, so it's sort of southwest-ish of the Sea of the Star, and we're heading for the north coast of the Sea of the Star, apparently. Okay, so 213. As the crumbling walls of Fiendil are lost to sight behind you, a vague shimmering disturbs the air. You feel warmth on your face as a strange being takes shape before you. It is the size of a giant, but its skin is ruby red and covered in running flames. Its wide, grinning mouth is filled with curving yellow tusks, and two yellow smoking horns crown its head. It speaks in a deep, booming voice. My master, Mance the Death Mage, has sent me to take you to the city of Brass in the elemental plane of fire. Life in the dread city of Brass is worse than death itself. You may leap to attack the Efreet, or if you are skilled in the use of poison needles, you may wish to use one. However, you may wish to use a shuriken. If you have an enchanted shuriken and wish to use it, turn to 161. Okay, poison needles. I have immunity to poison, but no poison needle skill, which is, inconvenient. I do wish to use a shuriken, I think, and I have an enchanted shuriken. So I'm going to try using that, and I will turn to 161. Because I'd feel really silly if I tried to hold on to it. And then it turned out that I died. The shuriken, enchanted by the priest of fate, shrieks like a banshee as it hurtles towards the chest of the elemental being. It embeds itself, and the Efreet becomes a pillar of flame before disappearing. You've banished it to its home, the city of Brass. The enchanted shuriken has been taken to the elemental plane of fire. Cross it off your character sheet. This is... You're right, Sparrow. This is definitely a very, very action-filled story so far. Okay. So the +1 turns out to be irrelevant, though I suppose it would have mattered if I ended up using it. It's gone forever, which means I now have only 3 of my shuriken left. So, cross it off your character sheet. Shaking your head at your narrow escape, you journey on towards the mountains of vision. Okay. Yep. I assume they go all the way around, and it's not that I'm going the wrong way. Because mountains of vision seem to be due west of where I am at the moment. But I'm assuming they're the entire range. If you now wish to head west and then cross the mountains of vision at the Storm Giant's Causeway, turn to 81. If you'd rather follow the winding river Fortune up into Fortune Pass and cross the mountains that way, turn to 70. The basic difference seems to be that you come out, there's a sort of spur sticking north from the Mountains of Vision. And if you go through the Storm Giant's Causeway, you come out to the west of it. And then you'd have to sort of follow up to, is that Dwaroheim? Whereas if you went through the Fortune Pass, you'd be able to hit the seashore quicker on the Sea of the Star. I think I'm going to take a hint from the name. Because people name things for reasons, right? And Fortune Pass and the Fortune River sounds like sometime back in the ancient times somebody got lucky there. They absolutely, had a good day. It was a good route. They were happy, so they called it Fortune Pass. So what does that tell us about the Storm Giant's Causeway? I feel going that way would be just obtuse. So I'm going to try the Fortune Pass, which seems to be both the luckier name and the more direct route, I think. So this will probably be a terrible decision, but we will try Fortune Pass. That means we turn to 70. Okay. The youthful river Fortune pours down a narrow valley which winds like a snake between the escarpments of the Mountains of Vision. The air becomes cooler as you climb, and snow begins to fall. You turn your costume inside out so that the white lining will camouflage you in the snow. You sleep well in the pass despite the cold, and may restore up to 4 points of endurance. I actually don't need them. I didn't take a hit from the monks. On the second day you hear a cry from around an escarpment, and you move on stealthily to look. A warrior holds his sword aloft as a small group of Aurochs, birdmen, attack. As you watch, a bolt of green light speeds from his sword, felling one of the Aurochs. Will you help the warrior, who is hard pressed, or hide in the snow until the Aurochs leave? Well, obviously I don't actually know if the warrior is a good guy or a bad guy, but given that I'm being offered a choice to defend only one of them, I feel helping the warrior is probably the way to go. Presumably there is something in his bearing or his clothing or something that makes me think, this guy, he's a good guy. So we will try to help him. That means we turn to 271 and presumably die immediately to Aurochs. Okay. You leap out and into the air, grabbing one of the Aurochs as it swoops behind the warrior. With a powerful wrench you break its neck. A sharp talon tears your shoulder. Lose 3 endurance. Lose 3... I didn't even get to roll on that. That seems very harsh. Okay, down to 17 again. My endurance is yo-yoing by 3. Note that it just gave me the opportunity to heal up to 4, and immediately after that took the 3 away. It's very cruel. Yeah, I agree with you, Sparrow. I think not knowing what the birdmen are up to, I mean, for all I know, this guy's some thief who went after their eggs or something. If you are still alive, yes I am, You turn and grab your attacker's leg, pulling him down and then delivering a crippling tiger's paw to the side of its neck, as another magical bolt leaps from the warrior's sword. Seeing this, the Aurochs glide out across the valley, leaving you to continue on your way. The warrior introduces himself as Runeweaver. You know that runes are the symbols used in spellmaking. He thanks you for aiding him, and tells you that he is a wandering adventurer who is travelling north to find pastures new, after a somewhat embarrassing rush with the authorities at Mortavalon. You walk together for a while until you come to a small hut near the source of the river. You decide to pass the night there. Runeweaver hopes to light a fire against the cold. Turn to 251. This can only end brilliantly. There's no impending doom at all, is there? Runeweaver makes a fire in the hut, while you squat on the floor to meditate. He wears only a breastplate of boiled leather for armour, and you notice that he somehow starts the fire without a tinderbox. Your spirit is wandering far away when the door to the hut is suddenly hurled open. A barbarian warrior strides in. He wears a necklace of giant weasel's teeth, a bear skin, and a strange circlet with a deep blue gem at his forehead. His armour is curiously fashioned with overlapping plates, like a fish's scales. He points his longsword menacingly and demands, in an uncouth Norseman's bastardization of the common tongue, "Well, my two small kobolds of the mountains, I'll take your money and all of your belongings." Runeweaver replies, "What do you take us for, mere farmers or peasants, that you should threaten us so?" The barbarian replies, "I don't care if you're princes. I am Olvar the Chaos Bringer, and I'm taking your gold." Okay. Will you spring to the attack, hand him your money pouch, or throw flash powder into the fire? Right. Remind me what the flash powder does, book. If I look for the thing. The flash powder is a thing that you do. Flash powder. Flash powder. Flash powder. This powder, when thrown in any source of flame, causes a blinding flash. You have enough for one use only. That powder is definitely very flash. Okay. You know what, Sparrow? It could be. I'm also slightly worried that if I throw the flash powder into the fire, it will blind Runeweaver as well. But once again, they give me one use of flash powder. I'd feel really silly if I passed up the opportunity to use it and then it turned out it was, making a mistake I can live with, but just being too cautious to not use it, I think not. So I'm going to throw flash powder into the fire and turn to 187. As the dust enters the flames, there is a brilliant flash. You had shaded your eyes, but Olvar and Runeweaver are, for the moment, blinded. The barbarian backs out of the doorway and you follow up with a flying winged horse to his chest, and he throws his arms up and crashes backwards into the snow. Note that he has lost 5 endurance, for you have cracked some of his ribs. You're about to run out into the snow to finish him when a bolt of blue lightning discharges from the gem at his forehead towards the doorway. You try to duck back inside, and your defence against the lightning bolt is 6 as Olvar's sight returns. If you manage to dodge, turn to 127. If you fail to dodge, 142. Okay. So, my defense against the lightning bolt is 6, so he has to roll a 6 basically to hit me. And he has rolled a 7. That means I failed to dodge and I turn to 142. At least I took 5 of his endurance. The bolt of lightning catches you in the side, charring your flesh and jolting you as if you'd been hit by a battering ram, and you're sent hurtling to the far wall. Lose 8 endurance. Wow. Okay. That's less good. I'm down to 9 endurance total. Right. However, if you're still alive, yes I am, you flip in the air and land safely on your feet. You manage to overcome the pain as the barbarian moves to attack you with his longsword. Runeweaver was closer to the fire flash than Olvar, and his sight will not return for some time. I may use the Cobra Strike, the Winged Horse Kick, the Dragon's Tail Throw, or, if you're skilled with poison needles, you may wish to use one. I am not, sadly, skilled with poison needles. I have Escapology. This does sound like an Escapology moment, honestly. Ouch. Right. Okay. So, we're not going to try and throw something that big. Big old barbarian. Winged Horse Kick or Cobra Strike. We're going to go for a Winged Horse Kick, even though I don't get the +1 to hit. I'm going to just take a chance on the dice. I'd get that with the Cobra Strike, but the Winged Horse Kick, because I get +2 on the damage, and I'm going to use one of my remaining 2 force things to double up. I want this to end quickly if I can. So, and I have no idea what his stats are yet. It hasn't told me that, other than the fact that he's already down by 5 endurance. So, the Winged Horse Kick, we will turn to 23. The barbarian's voice rises to a shriek of battle lust as he swipes at you, berserk. He cares nothing for your attacks so long as his sword tastes your blood. Subtract 1 from any damage you do to him. Okay. He cuts his sword down towards your head, but you sidestep to the right, twist and lash your left foot towards his face as his sword whistles down past your back. His defense against the winged horse is 7. His endurance is 18, minus that 5, which is 13. Okay. So, we will start trying to hit a 7 to begin with. And that is a 4. Now, inconveniently, not only does that mean I miss, I've also wasted one of my very rare force points. Okay. He now launches an attack against me. My defense is 8. Yowza. He's rolled a 5, so he's missed as well. Okay. Normally, under normal circumstances, what I would now do is go for punches, because I'd have a better chance of hitting with a punch, but I don't get the +2 damage with a punch. And I'd normally say, right, I'd rather have a good chance of hitting and at least do something each turn, and I'll wear him out. The problem is his damage when he does land a hit, which he will eventually, is 1 die plus 1, potentially up to 7 points. I only have 9 left, so only 2 hits would do it if he gets even remotely lucky. And I've got to knock him down from 13. He's got considerably more endurance than me. Oh, I don't know. 13. Theoretically, that's doable with 2 kicks if I roll really well. But it isn't doable with 2 punches, no matter how well I roll. And I've also got to reduce damage by 1 every time I hit him because he's berserk. It's got to be kicks. It's got to be. It's risky, but it's got to be done. Okay, we will try a kick. His defense is 7. Okay, that's more like it. That's an 8. So I land a hit. D6 plus 2. Which is a 4 plus 2 is 6, but minus 1. So he has gone down to 8 endurance. Now I could really, really use him missing this. And that's a 6, which is a miss. He needs to hit an 8 to hit me. Okay. So that's better. Yeah, a little bit better. His endurance is 8. We've got to go again. Okay, that's all right. That's a 10. So I hit him. And I do. 1. Minus 1, but plus 2. A total of 2. He's down to 6 endurance. I need him to get unlucky. I didn't actually need him to get that unlucky, but he's rolled a 2. Okay, but I've rolled a 5, which is also a miss. He's rolled a 7, which is also a miss. Clearly fighting in close quarters inside this hut is not doing either of us any favours. And that's an 8, which is enough for me to land a hit. And I now roll 1d6. Two plus 2 is 4, minus 1 is 3. He's down to 3 endurance. He is taking some killing, this guy. Thankfully, though, he's not very good at landing hits. That's a 4. And I have rolled a 9. So, what do I need? Well, basically anything but a 1 will do it. And that's a 3. So, he is finally down. Whew. I am very much regretting the flash powder. Yes, very much regretting it. It was clearly a poor choice. I might have had an actual ally in this fight, and I wouldn't have taken the automatic 8-point hit at the beginning, I'm guessing, and it would have just been a regular fight. So, yes, I'm enormously regretting the flash powder, and I'm currently hoping that either he's got another magic item on him that can heal, or once my friend and ally regains the use of his eyes, he can do something to get my endurance back up. So, I have defeated Olvar, and I turn to 47. Now, my endurance is down to 9, and I only have 1 of those valuable inner force things left. The barbarian falls at last, a mass of broken bones. At the end it seemed that he would fight on forever, but his battle cries will no longer trouble the lands of Orb. Runeweaver's sight has returned, and he's been watching the closing rounds of the battle. He has been watching the closing rounds of the battle. Did he have a bet on? As soon as Olvar falls dead, he darts in and grabs the circlet with the blue jewel from the barbarian's forehead. "I'll take this," he says, and draws his sword on you. Okay. Will you fight the man you saved from the birdmen for the circlet? Or let him go, take 5 gold pieces from Olvar's body, and either head northwest or towards the city of Druath Glennon, or east towards the Troll Fens to the city of Iron to take ship across the Sea of the Star. Okay. So the first problem is, do I fight the man I saved from the birdmen for the circlet? You know what? I think I do. I probably shouldn't, because I suspect my endurance will fail me and he's going to kill me. But I feel a bit bitter towards him. And I want to hurt him. I want to hurt him quite badly. Okay. I do want to hurt him. I have no idea if he's even beatable. He's armoured, he's got a sword. I mean, he might prove far too dangerous for me. But what am I going to do? He's clearly not that good a guy. And I fancy the circlet because it does apparently 8 points of damage, which is handy. We will. Yeah, he did, and he did just sit and watch me nearly die. He's not necessarily as needlessly violent as the barbarian who just attacks people for the hell of it. But I don't think he should get away with being such a dodgy guy. Yeah, he wasn't even willing to like toss a coin for the circlet or anything like that. It's just, oh, I'll take that. Okay. So I'm afraid we're going to turn to 78, and though this is likely a very great risk, we're going to jump into a fight with our 9 endurance. 78. Okay. As you run to attack, Runeweaver points his sword at you and mouths a spell. A globe of green energy explodes towards you from the sword tip. If you have acrobatics, you may try to leap into the air, somersault over it, and launch yourself at the warrior magician. I do not have acrobatics. If you are not an acrobat or do not wish to attempt this, you can try to deflect it with a shuriken. If you try this, the globe's defense is 7. If you succeed, turn to 292. If you miss, turn to 365. We are going to try to deflect it with a shuriken because I have 3 left, which means I have 1 for this, 1 to keep spare, and 1 that I'm going to watch this guy eat if he surrenders to me. He can put a little cream cheese on it or something, but he's going to eat it. So, the globe's defense is 7. I think I really need to hit this because I don't know what this globe will do. And that is exactly 7. Okay, so 292. The star flies into the bolt and spins away with a whine. The bolt is thrown off course and explodes harmlessly with a bang. You circle Runeweaver looking for an opening. Theoretically, I might even get my shuriken back. We'll find out. You circle Runeweaver looking for an opening. Turn to 276. The warrior magician hefts his sword normally now, poised to thrust or parry. Perhaps there's no magic left in his sword, you wonder, as you decide whether to use the forked lightning strike, the whirlpool throw, or the tiger's paw chop. I don't know his stats, so I can't necessarily make a good decision here. I'm going to try and launch the tiger's paw chop, which is essentially a punch, because I get +1 on that to hit, and I might need it. So I'm going to turn to 263 and hope that he doesn't have that much endurance. Okay, you chop with the speed of a striking snake towards the side of Runeweaver's neck. So his defense against Tiger's Paw is 5. That's not too bad, because remember I get +1 on punches. His endurance is 10. Again, not bad. So I only need a 4 on 2 dice to hit him, but apparently my defense is 6, so he's likely to land a hit on me if it goes to multiple rounds. Anyway, we're going to try and wear him down for at least a moment. Okay, I rolled a 7. So, with the 7, I land a nice hit on him. I do 1 die. Which is only a 2. So he is down to endurance 8. Now he gets a go at me. And he's rolled a 5, which is a miss, thankfully. Then I have a go at him. That's a 6, which is a hit. And this time I've rolled a 4, so he's down to 4 damage. 4 endurance. He gets a go at me. I could really use this being a miss. But it isn't. It's a 9. He gets 1d plus 1. And of course he's rolled a 6. So that's a total of 7. That reduces my endurance to 2. I have 2 endurance. On the other hand, I'm likely to hit with this. I only need a 4. I rolled a 4. Now, come on. I need... okay. I need a 4, 5 or a 6 to knock him out. And it's a 4. So, he is done. Turn to 233. Yeah. Runeweaver lies dead at your feet, his sword impaled in the wooden floor by his side. You pick it up, but realise he was indeed something of a magician as well as a warrior, for it needs a magician's spell to produce the pulsating spheres of green light which explode when they hit something. You reach for the circlet, but burn yourself when you touch it. Oh, God. Eldritch characters carved upon it show that it was forged deep in the rift by dark elves. No one of true heart may touch it. Well, at least that means I wasn't wrong to take him out of the world, but it was a complete waste. All of that 7 endurance gone for nothing. Okay. Right. You spend the night in the hut and may regain up to 3 endurance points. Okay. That gets me back to 5, which is better than nothing. You leave the useless treasures behind. They would encumber you on your journey, and at daybreak you set out once more on your mission. Later in the day you descend from the heights of Fortune Pass. Will you head northeast to the shores of the Sea of the Star and Druath Glennon, due north towards the City of Far Snows, or turn east through the Troll Fens to Iron Albion and take ship across the Sea of the Star? Okay, well, it says you leave the useless treasures, but there are actually a couple of things that I think, because it's a book, they sort of forgot. One is that there were 5 gold pieces I could have by taking them from the barbarian. So I'm going to take those. It didn't mention them later, but they're obviously still there. And the other is that as the shuriken was thrown indoors, and it didn't say it's gone the way it did the others, I get to keep it. So I've still got 3 shuriken. So, yes, do I head northeast to the shores of the Sea of the Star? So essentially that's work my way around the north, around the west and then north side towards Druath Glennon, which is where we last knew that the bad guys were. That's a fair call. That's possible. Due north toward the City of Far Snows, which doesn't actually appear to be on the map, unless I'm missing something. Oh no, I see. Yes, all the way north. Oh, a long, long way north, above the snow wastes. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, that's where it is. That's away. Or turn east through the Troll Fens to Iron Albion and take ship across the Sea of the Star. They are heading north, we are heading north. So I'm torn, basically. I think going around the lake, if I'm heading north past the lake, then turning east to Druath Glennon just because that's where they've been is dumb. For me, I should either head north and then keep going, or head east and cross the sea. And if you're me, I think if they're on foot as well, and I'm a ninja type, fairly lightly equipped and fast moving, I don't want to go out of my way, even though going by the sea could get me a bit of distance quickly. It will only really be helpful if it drops me off on the sort of far northwest of the Sea of the Star, because I've got to go quite a long way out of my way to get to Iron Albion. And then if I have to get up to Druath Glennon and then head north, that's quite a long additional route. So my thinking is we just strike north and rely on my lightly equipped, high speed pace, covering the distance faster than they can. That may be a terrible choice, but it's what I'm going to go for. So due north towards the city of Far Snows. Turn to 313. Um, Knowing full well that the beginning of this is going to say, a rock falls on your head, take 5 endurance. Okay, 313. It is many days' march across the snow wastes, and not knowing exactly where the city lies, you curse the barren emptiness, for there is no clue as to which way to turn. At last, you sight the white domes and ice houses of the city of Far Snows, on the eve of a night on which the moon turns red, a night which has no end. You are too late. The eternal darkness has come, and Quan has been imprisoned in Inferno. Your inner force drains away, and there is nothing you can do to stop the rise of evil. You have failed. Damn it. Okay. Well. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Okay, well, first of all, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I think this was a good book, a good story. I liked the combat system. I enjoyed the setting. I think for the most part, it did give me the necessary information to make sensible decisions. And sometimes I didn't make sensible decisions, but for the most part, it did give me enough information to do so. But obviously, these things are also written with replayability in mind. They expect you to blunder into the occasional death trap. Now, I am obviously going to have another go at this at some point because I thoroughly enjoyed doing it and I want to try different things and do other stuff. So when I'm on my own again, I will have another crack at this one. I'll probably have another crack at the Lone Wolf one first, and see if I can get a bit further along with that. But I thought this was a good story, and I enjoyed it. But there is one thing that my curiosity is bugging me about. That very first decision I made right at the beginning, paragraph 200, when I had to choose whether or not to embrace the being a follower of fate, because maybe that would have given me fate points, and not that I could see exactly how they'd be useful, but it might say, for the rest of your adventure, you get to add 1 to your kick and 1 to your throw and 1 to your punch, and it could have, really scaled up the combat. So I am genuinely curious what happens if you embrace the worship of fate, which I did not do, and I turned to 76. But what happens if you turn to 100? Does it give you some tremendous bonus that I was too scared to take? Or, okay, that's a fair point, Sparrow. Next time I could choose that. The problem is, I won't ever choose that. Because if I get to that point again, I'll follow the same reasoning. And I will... I was going to peek. I shouldn't, because I will play the book again. At some point, if I decide I'm done with the book, I might. But for now, I'm not going to peek. All right. Okay. Yes, because I'll have another go at this book, because I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a really good setting and a really good plot. Because of that, I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to take a look at the alternative, because that would be, bad. So, thank you very much for watching me. I do appreciate it, whether it was live or later catching up on demand. Thank you, Sparrow, for joining me in chat. It's lovely to spend a bit of time with you. I hope you enjoyed the book. The next time I'm on my lonesome, I'll have another go at the Lone Wolf one, I think. Flight from the Dark. And then at some point in the future, I'll have another go at Avenger because I think it deserves it. Frankly, I think it is good. Excellent. So, without further ado, I will bid everybody a good night. And on Friday we are doing Traveller, and on Saturday we are doing Save Dave. So if you are around for either of those, and I know some people may be around for some of those, you know, some people may be around. Yes, Sparrow, I am talking about you. um, then please do join. Traveller is great fun and involves random toasts and cat stories. And Save Dave is this lovely sort of one sheet game where everybody refuses to believe that Dave is my best friend. Um, there are, as it turns out, horrendous things going on. It's Dave of the Dead this time. So, thank you very much, and I will bid you a good night.